The air campaign that defined military history was not won by the superior fighter, nor was it planned by the tacticians who fought it. It was an improvised defense waged with interceptors designed for different threats against an invasion force that lacked aircraft to actually achieve air superiority over water. Introduced in 1938 as a high-speed interceptor, it forced the Luftwaffe to rethink daylight escort strategy. Powered by a 1,030 horsepower engine, it reached 362 miles per hour with 8 machine guns. Germany expected to command the airspace using high-altitude fighter sweeps. Instead, 19 operational squadrons of these interceptors dictated engagement terms, forcing German escorts to remain close to their vulnerable bombers. On paper, it was a short-range point defense interceptor. In practice, it became an unyielding piece of British military aircraft history. Entering service in 1937 to replace biplanes, this design retained traditional fabric-covered construction beneath a modern monoplane silhouette. Equipped with 8 0.303 machine guns, 14,583 airframes were produced. Royal Air Force doctrine intended it to engage enemy fighters directly. However, its top speed of 340 miles per hour left it vulnerable to escorts, so commanders repurposed it to relentlessly hunt slower German bomber formations instead. They ordered an advanced intercepting dogfighter. They got an industrial bomber killer. Entering service in 1937 as the premier air superiority fighter, this aircraft was engineered to secure dominance over continental battlefields. It featured a fuel-injected 1,159 horsepower engine, propelling its 2,665-kilogram frame to 354 miles per hour. While aerodynamically exceptional, its cramped cockpit and 410-mile range handicapped operations, forcing pilots to abandon bombers after minutes. 33,984 built, over 16,000 lost. The brutal math tells the rest. Entering service in 1937, this twin-engine heavy fighter was intended to project deep strategic power. Weighing 15,000 pounds, it carried an intimidating arsenal of 2 20mm cannons and 4 machine guns, achieving 349 miles per hour. Yet, during daytime raids over England, its poor maneuverability resulted in catastrophic losses, eventually requiring single-engine fighters to escort these escorts. It was designed to clear the skies of resistance. It is remembered for being spectacularly defenseless instead. Introduced in 1939, this aircraft was built to destroy unescorted bomber formations from below. Equipped with a motorized dorsal turret containing 4 0.303 machine guns, its 8,318-pound airframe reached 304 miles per hour. Nevertheless, it lacked forward-firing weapons, allowing enemy pilots to simply attack head-on, with devastating results, forcing its total withdrawal from daytime operations. It solved the challenge of aiming. It created defenseless flying coffins. Entering service in 1937, this iconic biplane was expected to defend outposts with unmatched maneuverability. It featured an 830-horsepower radial engine, moving a 4,750-pound frame at 253 miles per hour. Despite its agility, the aircraft faced modern monoplanes over England, where its 4 machine guns and slow speed proved hopelessly inadequate against coordinated attacks. History remembered a valiant, tragic final stand. The pilots remembered flying targets. Entering service in 1938, this twin-engine design was intended to serve as a long-range daytime escort. Equipped with a rudimentary airborne interception radar, the 12,500-pound machine reached 260 miles per hour using 2 840-horsepower engines. In reality, its lethargic daytime performance led to devastating losses, forcing commanders to reassign the surviving airframes to night defense duties. They ordered a daytime heavy fighter. They got a makeshift night interceptor. Deployed in 1939, this aircraft was commissioned to maintain Italian air superiority over the vast Mediterranean. Utilizing an 840-horsepower radial engine, the 5,060-pound biplane achieved 268 miles per hour, armed with 2 machine guns. However, when deployed against British defenses during the late autumn raids, its exceptional maneuverability could not compensate for catastrophic structural vulnerabilities. On paper, it was an agile dogfighter. In practice, it was dangerously obsolete. Introduced in 1938, this platform was designed to transition Italian forces into the modern monoplane era. Boasting an 838 horsepower engine, the 5,295-pound aircraft maxed out at 293 miles per hour. Yet, conservative pilots demanded an open cockpit, which severely degraded aerodynamic performance and left crews freezing during high-altitude escorts over Britain. The Italian military wanted a highly advanced interceptor. The merciless English autumn had other plans. Entering combat. In 1939, this interceptor was built to outmaneuver any comparable fighter across the European theater. Powered by an 870 horsepower radial engine, the 5,200-pound frame hit 312 miles per hour. While possessing exceptional handling qualities, its meager armament of only 2 heavy machine guns meant pilots struggled to destroy robust enemy bombers. It was a masterpiece of aerodynamic engineering. It was practically useless in an aerial firefight. Deployed in August 1940, it was designed to quickly integrate a more powerful engine without disrupting vital production lines. Fitted with a 1,175 horsepower engine, the 6,050-pound frame achieved 354 miles per hour. Production reached 920 airframes. Although outwardly identical to the Mark I, the heavier engine slightly reduced maneuverability, but pilots leveraged its superior climb rate to intercept high-altitude raiders. On paper, it was an interim stopgap. In practice, it held the line. Entering the fray in September 1940, this heavy twin-engine platform was conceived to carry bulky airborne interception radar into the night sky. Weighing 21,000 pounds, it utilized 2 1,400 horsepower radial engines to reach 323 miles per hour with 4 cannons and 6 machine guns. As daytime raids proved costly, the Luftwaffe shifted to nocturnal bombing, giving this aircraft the precise environment needed to hunt unseen intruders. The radar weighed too much for a standard interceptor. The Beaufighter simply carried it all. Fielded in June 1940, this twin-engine escort was intended to outgun anything in the sky with a concentrated nose battery. Driven by 2 885 horsepower engines, its 10,356-pound airframe achieved 360 miles per hour, armed with 4 20mm cannons. Despite blistering low-level speed, chronic engine reliability issues kept squadrons grounded during the critical summer, relegating it to convoy patrols instead of interception duties. They ordered a long-range bomber-destroyer. They got a maintenance nightmare. Introduced in July 1940, this conversion was designed to transform a fast medium bomber into a long-range heavy fighter. Stripped of its bomb sight, the 19,700-pound machine mounted 3 machine guns and a 20mm cannon in a solid metal nose, reaching 290 miles per hour. Tasked with night intruder missions over British airfields, it stalked returning bombers in the dark, exploiting vulnerable crews attempting to land their damaged aircraft. It solved the problem of short-range escorts. It created a terror in the nighttime landing patterns. Deployed in June 1940, this naval platform assumed that carrier fighters needed a dedicated navigator over open ocean. Burdened by a second crewman, the 9,672-pound aircraft utilized a 1,080 horsepower engine, managing 247 miles per hour. While primarily a fleet defender, shore-based units defended naval yards against German raids, where its 8 machine guns proved lethal against slow targets. History remembered the agile Spitfires. The aviators remembered dogfighting in a 2-seat station wagon. Entering service in late 1940, this converted medium bomber was optimized for the emerging nocturnal air war. Weighing 18,000 pounds, it was powered by 2 1,000-horsepower radial engines, reaching 265 miles per hour, equipped with 4 machine guns and 2 cannons. To hunt British bombers, crews relied on an infrared searchlight system known as the Spanner Anlage, but the primitive technology rarely worked in the damp European weather. The Luftwaffe wanted an invisible night stalker. The climate had other plans. Fielded in 1938, this naval platform was intended to serve as both a fleet fighter and dive bomber. The 8,200-pound airframe relied on a 900-horsepower engine, managing 225 miles per hour with 4 4 forward machine guns. Although it secured the first confirmed British aerial kill of the conflict, its abysmal top speed left it helpless against modern interceptors over the English Channel. On paper, it was a versatile multi-role strike fighter. In practice, it was completely outclassed. Introduced in 1939, naval planners believed a turret-armed interceptor could protect fleets without needing to dogfight. Weighing 8,800 pounds, its 890 horsepower engine dragged the airframe to a dismal 223 miles per hour. Deployed to coastal bases during the critical summer of 1940, it proved so painfully slow that commanders forbade it from flying fighter patrols, instantly relegating it to target towing duties. They ordered a fleet defense fighter. They got a flying liability. Deployed in 1939, this modified biplane was adapted to provide carrier groups with immediate air defense capabilities. Equipped with an 830 horsepower engine and an arrestor hook, the 5,400-pound machine achieved 245 miles per hour. While famous for defending Mediterranean islands, several shore-based squadrons operated them over Britain during the early invasion threats before being rapidly replaced by modern monoplanes. History remembered a legendary island defense. The pilots remembered flying an obsolete stopgap. Arriving in September 1940, this critical upgrade was designed to regain performance parity with the latest German interceptors. Fitted with a supercharged 1,185 horsepower engine, the 6,600-pound aircraft pushed 342 miles per hour. Arriving in small numbers during the final daylight raids, its enhanced high-altitude performance allowed British pilots to finally engage escorts on equal footing. It solved the altitude problem. It created the backbone of the offensive air force. Deployed in August 1940, this experimental armament test aimed to increase lethality against robust German bombers. Only 30 airframes were modified, carrying two 20mm cannons alongside 4 machine guns, while maintaining a top speed of 355 miles per hour. The drum-fed cannons were mounted on their sides to fit the thin wings, causing catastrophic and chronic feed jams during aggressive maneuvering. Most pilots found themselves engaging enemy aircraft with only half their weapons functioning. On paper, it was a bomber-destroyer. In practice, it was a malfunctioning liability. Introduced in August 1940, this long-range platform was tasked with escorting bombers far beyond the reach of single-engine fighters. Carrying a massive external fuel tank, the 17,000-pound machine achieved 315 miles per hour using two 1,200 horsepower engines. The massive unarmored plywood belly tank, nicknamed the Dachshund belly, created severe aerodynamic drag and proved highly explosive when engaged by British interceptors. Instead of extending German reach, the variant suffered staggering losses and was quickly withdrawn from channel operations. They ordered a strategic escort. They got an airborne incendiary target. Fielded in early 1940, Coastal Command required a heavily armed maritime patrol fighter to protect shipping lanes from enemy raiders. Weighing 13,500 pounds, it reached 266 miles per hour, utilizing two 920 horsepower engines and an underbelly gun pack containing 4 machine guns. Tasked with protecting the vital approaches to Britain, crews flew grueling 10-hour patrols over the freezing North Sea with minimal heating and obsolete navigation equipment. While structurally reliable, its insufficient speed made intercepting evasive German floatplanes nearly impossible. History remembered the glamorous dogfights. The crews remembered exhausting, freezing patrols over gray water. Arriving in September 1940, this American-built import was rapidly acquired to fulfill urgent fleet air defense requirements. Powered by a 1,200 horsepower radial engine, the 7,000-pound aircraft achieved 325 miles per hour, equipped with 4 heavy machine guns. Entering service at the tail end of the campaign, it became the first American-designed fighter to destroy a German aircraft in combat, proving the viability of rugged radial engine interceptors for carrier operations. It solved a critical equipment shortage. It created a vital wartime partnership.